We are looking at the practice exercise 6.19, which is leetSpeak. We're going to write a method called leetSync, and it accepts two parameters, a scanner representing an input file and a PrintStream representing an output file. So let's actually go ahead and write this in IntelliJ. Now you can use IntelliJ or Eclipse. I prefer IntelliJ. The reason why we were doing it in here is because I actually had some trouble with this, and the debug feature was very nice, and seeing it actually output to a file, which I'll go over, was very nice as well. So this is using PrintStream, so we're outputting to a file. If you want more information on that, I'll have another video somewhere on the channel about that. But for this one, let's make this method. It's going to be a public method, so write a method leetSpeak. It's a public static, and since we're just writing to a file, it's going to be void. We're not returning anything. And then we're going to have our name, which is leetSpeak, and then inside of here we're going to have our scanner. We'll just call it scan, and we're going to have our PrintStream, and we'll call this PrintStream. This is like the object, and then we'll title it print temp because it's a temporary file. Well, it's not. It's going to be an actual file, but I'll just call it print temp. So we're going to want to import the scanner and PrintStream class into our IntelliJ or Eclipse, whatever IDE we're using. That way we can actually use them without getting any errors. Now from here, what we need to do is just go into our method. So our method should convert the input file's text to leetSpeak. It's also known as 1337speak. It's an internet dialect where various letters are replaced with numbers/letters. The output of the leet version to the text file should be given. We want to preserve the original breaks and also wrap each word of input in parentheses. So these are the original characters and the leet characters that we're going to be dealing with. We're given an example here. So if this is a text file that we're dealing with, we have our scanner input, we have our PrintStream, we have leetSpeak, and then this is going to be what our output file should look like. Now we're given a hint here, and it's not a full hint, you'll see why in a second, but we're actually going to code this into our IntelliJ, and we'll make a main method to simulate this part right here. Now I'm going to skip a input file. We could easily do that, but I'll just skip it for simplicity. We want our main class, so public static void main. We are going to want to make a instance of our file. So this is how we would do it. We do PrintStream. We'll call it whatever we want. So we'll just call it print temp again. And we'll set it equal to a new PrintStream. Oops. And then inside of this new PrintStream, we want to have our new file. So I mean, we can write to an existing file, but we'll just do new file. That way we'll overwrite it every time we run it. So we'll do new file, and we'll just call this text.text. So text.text, this is not our path name because it's just going to create it in here, like how it is in here. If it's not there already, I'll just go and delete it actually. I had this from earlier when I was testing it out, but it's not there anymore. I deleted it from my file explorer, and it's going to create a new file this way. We can end this line. We have an error over here, but that's just because we need to add an exception to our main. So it's going to throw a file not found exception. That's just in case if it doesn't find the file, but that won't be a problem for us here. Now we also have to have our input file, but we're going to represent that with a string. Inside of this string, we will just take this example that they have and paste it in here. IntelliJ is going to include all of these /new lines, and then we can just end this line. Now, we are going to want to send this string, which we'll just call temp, to a scanner. Remember, this is representing a file. So we have scanner, we'll call it scan, and we'll set it equal to a new scanner, where we pass in temp, and then we're going to pass this to our method. So we have leetSpeak, and we're going to pass in scan, and we're going to also pass in print temp. So these go to our leetSpeak method right here. So that's the main, that's how we're going to be testing everything, and then this is our method that we're going to go inside of. Now for leetSpeak, if we're given something like this, right, we have multiple lines here. We want to read through each line. So we're going to run this while our scanner, so scan dot has next line. So we look through every single line, and then we want to go inside of here. Now once we're in, we've gone through this line right here, right? We want to actually go through this line. And a simple way to do that is just to store this entire line inside of a string and then have a scanner that reads through this, because these spaces are like the delimiters. I forget exactly how they're pronounced, but those are the things basically separating the tokens, which are the words. So we have string, and we'll just call it the long line, and we'll set it equal to scan dot next line. So we're going to take the entire line in here, and we're going to break it up in this scanner. So we'll call this scanner reading. We're going to read through it, and it's going to be new scanner, where we pass in our long line. So that's pretty much it for the beginning here. We're going to need a while loop because we want to run through this while we have a next token. So while our reading dot has next, and we're going to be inside of here. Now this is what we're going to do. We're going to get this specific token every single time we go through here. So the first time we want 4, let's store it in a string. String, we'll call this line, is equal to, we're going to get the reading dot next, and we'll get just the next. We just want the next token. So string line is equal to reading dot next. So remember, this just checks it. This just checks it. It doesn't get rid of anything. Once we do reading dot next, it increments the part where the scanner is looking at for the token to the next one. So we have 4. It's stored in our line right now, and we want to check these. So that means that we're just going to have a bunch of conditions. And this is pretty simple to do in here. All we need to do is replace and update everything. There is one exception to this, but we'll get to that in a second. So we're going to set our line equal to, and this is why I said the instructions were a little bit imprecise right here. So we have our string stored right here, and then it's just saying str is equal to str.replace all of this. Now this might be like an old way of coding, but it doesn't work here. We have to set line equal to line.replace. And this is what's going to update. So we're going to pass in our old char, which if we look at the original character is O. And then if we look at our new character, it's going to be 0. That's the leet character. So we can end this line doing Control or Command D. We can duplicate that. We're just going to go and have that as 1. And this should be a lowercase l. We'll duplicate this again. This is going to be an E, which in the character is a 3. This one is going to be an A, which is a 4. Then we have a T lastly, which is a 7. Now, this last one's a bit tricky. So if we have an S at the end of the word only, it's going to represent a Z. So we got to code that into here. Well, how do we do that? We can't just replace it, right? Because if we do line.replace, well, it's just we're going to replace every S, even if it's not just at the end. And remember, this is at the end of the word only. So that means we have to have a condition checking here. What we can do is we can say if the last character, and the way we can get that is doing line.char, we'll do line.char at, and we're going to get the last character. So the last character, the index of the last character is the line.length minus 1. Because remember, the length of something is the same as the index, but it's 1 bigger, so we subtract 1. And we're just going to check if it's equal to S. So if the very last character is equal to S, we're going to be inside of here. And inside of here, we're going to set line equal to, and we can't just, again, we still can't just replace everything. Because if we just replace everything, the problem here with that is that we are still not just replacing the ending part. So we're going to set line equal to line.substring, and we're going to cut off the end, and then we're just going to add a Z. This is the easiest way I could think of. So line.substring, we're going to start at 0, that's the beginning index, and we're going to go to line dot, and I see this is getting kind of long, so we'll actually just move to the next line, and then tab in. So we want to go to line.length minus 1, pretty simple, and then after this, we're just going to append a Z to it. We can end this line. That's pretty much it. Once we're done with this, we're going to want to simply print to our output text file. So we're going to do print temp.print, and we don't want to do print line because we want this on the same line until we break out of this inner loop, and then we're going to print on a new line. So we have print, and then inside of this print, we know we want our parentheses. We're going to add our line here, and this line, remember, is just going to be this word after it's gone through any of these changes, if it needs to. We'll add this parenthesis, we're going to add a space, and we're going to break out of here, and then we're just going to add a new line. So that's a simple print temp dot print line, and that's it. We don't need to include anything inside there. So this is going to be our entire method that we are using. Gone through everything. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. This is our testing for it, and we can go through and debug it if you want, or we can just run it. And if we run it, it's going to look like this. So process finished with exit code 0. You can see that the text.txt showed up, or you can go to your directory wherever you have this saved, and you can just open this text file. So I double clicked it, and it looks just like this. So it should be good for us to submit. We can copy this and paste it in here. We'll press submit. And we passed 2 out of 2 tests. So you passed both tests. This one was checking for the basic one that it gave us an example for, and this one was checking for like if the Z is at the end and if there's an S at the front. And that's how we would do this problem. That's how I solved it, and I think it's the best way to solve it. Simplest way, and I hope that helps.